जयपुर वाया कोटा।
कृपया ध्यान आपो अहमदाबाद
दिल्ली में आपका स्वागत.
Lucknow Junction.
ನಿಲ್ದಾಣದ ಕಡೆಗೆ ಹೊರಟಿರುವ ರೈಲು
Hyderabad को 50 एक्सप्रेस पॉलोबोटी स्टेशन नेताजी भवन कृपया ध्यान दो.
If you're a Delhi fan, then at the halfway stage of this match, I'm sure you must have felt that we're in with a chance, chasing 175 on a very high-scoring ground, playing at the Chinnaswamy. But within 2.2 overs of the restart, Delhi had the wind knocked out of their sails, tottering at 2 for the loss of 3 wickets. Chasing 175, Delhi ended up losing by 23 runs. Manish Pandey, the only contributor, with a 50. And Debutant Vyshak on his debut for Bangalore, picking up 3 wickets, conceding only 20 runs. And Mohammad Siraj continuing the purple patch that he's been showing this season. You're watching Cricbuzz Live. I'm Anubhav Jain, with me, Joy and Polly. You know, you have collapses, and then you have what you saw today in the first couple of overs.
Yeah, when you have a look at that scorecard and you see that the guy who's got the second highest score is batting at number 10, then you know there's a bit of an issue. So they'll be immensely disappointed. In the halfway stage, they must have got into that dressing room buoyed by the fact of how well they'd bowled, what the total was that they'd have to achieve. They were bringing Prithvi in as the impact substitute, and everything was looking like, okay, this could be the start of our season. And then, as you say, as quickly as you could, they had to turn around. Look at that. 2.2 overs, 3 for 2 on the back foot, and then the massive wicket of Dave Warner compared to what we've seen. I mean, he's been the backbone of any batting that they've put together. I was impressed with the Manish Pandey played. I liked his 50, but just like Virat Kohli, get to 50 and the next delivery, get out. So that was unfortunate. But gee, Delhi, I mean, they are all calling all pockets. I mean, we saw that management, and we've been joking behind the scenes here. There's 3 batting coaches, 4 batting coaches. I mean, when you think about Saurav, Ricky, Shane Watson, Praveen Amre, I mean, all of them can give you good advice, but I don't know what you say to your team at this stage, Joy. What do you go?
A case of too many cooks spoil the broth?
Yeah, I mean, I was just thinking about it, that how many times do you have an innings at the Chinnaswamy Stadium, okay, one of the fastest scoring grounds in the country, where you have 2 sixes, just 2 sixes in the entire innings, which just tells you a little bit about what happened to them. It was a total collapse, and they just never could get back into the game. And every time a partnership seemed to start building, they lose another wicket. I mean, so there's so much going on, and perhaps the season is symbolized by what has happened. You don't play Prithvi Shaw in the fielding team unit because you think he's a bit of a liability in the field, clearly because of his fitness. And the first run that he tries to take, hits it to the other impact substitute on the other end.
Yeah.
He didn't do very much with the bat, Anuj Rawat, who pulled off something absolutely fantastic on the field. So once you start like that, I think the template is absolutely set. Somewhere that things are going to start to go wrong for them. And then after that, losing Mitch Marsh, and then after that, immediately after that, another Yash Dhal going down. I mean, that just sealed their fate. The interesting part is that RCB have been here before. They've been here before, they've scored more than 200, and they've put, if you remember what happened to Lucknow, put Lucknow under pressure. Other teams managed to play through it, fight back. The only way to play in the Chinnaswamy is counter-attack. And that's something Delhi couldn't do at all. And I think a large part of it is definitely also due to, I thought Vyshak bowled absolutely brilliantly in the middle. And I think it made a huge difference today.
Absolutely. You extolled his virtues as well. You talked about the fact that, there are definitely lots of attributes that this bowler has. Polly, you talked about how he could have some more variations, but I think he came back strongly in the last couple of overs that he bowled. We saw his slower ones, we saw lots of variations. So he's definitely got more than one string to his bow, doesn't he?
Yeah, first look that we've had at him, and I must admit, when we did the com box, I thought to myself, one trick pony. He kind of runs up, hits back of a length. What else is there to him? But then when he came back, I saw the slower balls, saw the knuckle ball, I saw the change of length. So he's got much more to him, and that's why when Joy said he's an exciting talent, I was watching as closely as I could. The first 2 overs, I thought, well, come on, he must have something different to his game. But he showed me later on, so I'm really happy with what I saw there, and that's a big plus. I think it's the best Indian debut bowling performance from RCB. So they found a little gem there, I think, and they can run with him for as much as they possibly can. Siraj, I thought, was really good. I mean, that ability he's getting now to the right-handers to get it to track back is causing a lot of problems. We've seen in all the games that he's played, he keeps asking those questions, and you can't latch onto him. So no surprise that they've been the best team in the power play. I mean, they keep getting off to a good start. They've just got to learn the art. Hasaranga, for me, a little bit disappointing.
Yeah.
I was expecting more from him, particularly in the situation they were in when he came in to bowl, because they were in control and in charge. But Pandey kind of took him down a little bit. But I think they'll be happy with that. I mean, having defended that is a huge boost.
Absolutely.
At this stage of the tournament, they're kind of struggling for wins. You only post 170, you go into the dressing room thinking, not quite enough.
Yeah.
But then to win as comfortably as that, I mean, there'll be big high fives going around that dressing room now.
Lots of high fives, a massive boost, especially because they're the next opponent against, they're playing the next matchup against Chennai at home. And so they'll definitely be going into that matchup with the tails up because they'd lost a couple of games prior to this encounter.
No, absolutely. And after that, what they need to do is they're going to have 5 games on the road. So they have an interesting schedule. So if they don't knock up the wins out now, they're going to be a lot of trouble towards the latter end of the tournament. But just look at this. Normally in first, because there's no dew factor involved, normally in matches which are played in the first part of the day, which is the afternoon match slots, the wicket plays kind of the same. Okay. Now, if you look at it carefully, in the same pitch, okay, Delhi bowled 11 overs of spin. Okay. On the other hand, Bangalore bowled just 4 overs of spin. Hasaranga bowled 3, 1 over from Shahbaz Ahmed.
Yeah,
The rest of it
yeah.
was fast bowling. So it's very interesting how the 2 innings progressions were totally different. Delhi went completely with spin and did a very good job under the circumstances, getting them to 174. But the success that Bangalore got was of their fast men. The moment the spinners got gone, they got carted. So he came, Hasaranga went for 37 in his 3 overs. Shahbaz went for 11 in his 1 over. So none of the spinners were working. It was the fast bowlers who did the job for Bangalore, which is not what you would have expected after seeing the Delhi performance.
And Bangalore certainly bowled really well, especially the fast bowlers, as you mentioned. But how much of it was Delhi batters not quite, stepping up? Because that's been the story of the season, hasn't it?
Also mode of dismissal. You think of a Mitchell Marsh, a leading edge to a ball that was probably going to miss leg stump. It's...
He played a very loose shot against Lucknow as well. First ball facing Mark Wood, who had just picked up a wicket, and he gets bowled first ball.
And that's the thing. I mean, he goes away to the wedding. Ideally, you want 2 or 3 net sessions in between, just to find your timing. He'll come good, don't get me wrong. But at this stage for them as a batting unit, I mean, there's just no one firing. I mean, even Riley Rousseau, he can be very much hit and miss. I mean, he had a wonderful innings in the PSL and he played a few nice knocks in the SA20. He would be a good option for them as a left-hander as well. But none of them have shown anything to really make you want to stick by them. And that's very unfortunate. And, from a coaching staff, you put everything in place, you have 2-week build-up, you get everything going, and then nothing.
Yeah,
and it's kind of, well, what more could we have done? How did we allow this to get into this situation? So, yeah, I don't think the Delhi fans will be too happy with what they've seen.
Absolutely. And neither will Ricky Ponting. He talked about the fact that, Delhi needs to do lots of soul searching. And this was after a couple of games. But I think there's more soul searching that needs to be done. It's going from bad to worse. We've got another encounter, of course. It's a double header Saturday that we have. And the second game that we have on our cards is Punjab playing Lucknow. And Lucknow have lost the toss. Punjab won the toss and Punjab will be bowling first. And the big news is that Shikhar Dhawan will be missing this encounter. And so you've got the 18.5 crore man, Sam Curran, who will be taking over the reins. Lucknow versus Punjab. Lucknow flying high. Punjab sort of losing their way a little bit. They lost their last encounter. So promises to be a cracker for contest.
Yeah, it should be good. I mean, it is a massive blow, Sheikha. I mean, Sheikha's been the one who's been superb at the top of the order. They've kind of struggled in that opening partnership besides his performance. The extra pressure to put on Sam Curran as well. He's kind of, this big price tag that he's come with, he's maybe like, let me get my job done. Now you say, okay, well, captain the side as well. So is Liam Livingston in? That we haven't heard that. I haven't heard that news. Is he made his?
We'll take a look at the team sheet
too.
Bit.
Yeah, but it's a huge blow. I mean, Shika.
So we don't see him.
No.
But quite a few changes that we see. We've got Atharva Taide, Harpreet Singh Bhatia, Sikandar Raza comes back in, and Rahul Chahar as well. So wholesale changes. Joy.
Yeah, very, very interesting because I know Harpreet Bhatia well. He used to play for Madhya Pradesh. Very, very, in fact, he's the same batch. He played under-19 cricket for India in 2010 under Mandeep Singh, the same batch that Jaidev Unadkat played for in New Zealand. And he's normally known as a well-known, he's really a middle-order bat. Atharva Taida, I do not know at all. We must look him up because he must be an exciting prospect. But this is an interesting team in the sense that they're not being scared to make changes. I mean, one change up front I can understand, but that means Prabhsimran meant they must have patted somebody on the back, Harpreet or one of them, and said, "You're in."
Yeah.
And now after Shikhar is gone, they had to search for a second substitute and get one more person in.
Yeah.
But interesting that after knowing that Shikhar is going down, they didn't decide that, okay, give Prabhsimran another chance.
Yeah.
He went into the second substitution. So look, this is clearly Trevor Bayliss' team. And Trevor Bayliss I've worked with him in KKR for the 3 years. He's very clear about the decisions he makes. He'll give you an opportunity. If you haven't made it, he'll move on. And I think he's sending a message to the team that if they have to, and given Punjab's really difficult run over the last 5-7 years, he must be saying that I need to take drastic measures if I've got to make this team work.
Yeah, because Prabhsimran did have a couple of good outings at the very start. He showed fiery form, didn't quite convert it into anything big, but then of course had a couple of ducks as well following that and not finding his place back into the side. Let's take a look at Lucknow's playing 11 as well. This game being played in Lucknow. And Lucknow batting first. You've got Ayush Badoni, who's been the impact specialist so far this season, who's in the starting 11. He's starting since the batting first. And then you also have Yudhvir Singh Charak. But apart from that, everything remains the same. QDK still not in. Kyle Mayers hasn't had the best last 2 games. Shaun, are you a tad bit surprised that QDK didn't end up replacing Kyle Mayers?
Yeah, I think you got to go from a long-term perspective. I think Quinton, obviously he'll be regretting the fact he had to stay and play for South Africa because he hasn't got a gig since he's arrived. But Mayers did well in those first 2 in particular. I think he got a man of the match performance, matched it up with another big score. So you can't really say too much about the fact that they've stuck with him. I mean, ideally that's what you kind of want to do is when your players, you don't want them looking over your shoulder. But I just think long term, I think by the end of the tournament, I think you want Quinton de Kock in good touch because he's the kind of one who's got the potential, maybe more potential. But Mayers obviously offers that a little bit with the ball as well. And they've got the keeping option. So, yeah, it's an interesting one. I mean, we just know as South Africans, we know the real strength of Quinton and the years and what he's done. So that's why we would probably be a bit biased in our outlook as to whether he should or shouldn't play. But,
and the West Indies are well aware of his strength as well, scoring that 43-ball 100 right before the start of the IPL. Punjab have the fair share of problems. KL Rahul, so Lucknow have their fair share of problems, I should say. KL Rahul not quite looking his usual self so far. Strike rate has been like the dartboard that's been on his back for a long, long time. But this season, he's not been amongst the runs. And the few runs that he's gotten at a very low rate, hasn't he?
Look, you never look at rate when in the kind of balls he's played on 12 balls, you can not get runs, it's okay. But once you've got 30 balls to play, 5 overs to play, that you're just on 35, it sounds difficult. But remember, that was the match where the pitch was an absolute minefield. And it was really, really difficult to bat. This was the match that they played, the last home match that they played where, Hyderabad was totally tied up in knots. So that's why I'm saying that let's not just, at this point in time, I think it's too early to call for the fact that he's not in form. Because I think in that match, I think he played the perfect innings given the kind of total that had been put up by Sunrisers. So I think he's still too early to call. But yeah, he'd like to get a few runs and get that monkey off his back. And of course, QDK is sitting outside. I've thought about this because what happens if you're 7 games in, okay? And Kyle doesn't quite make out as well as he did when he started off, okay? Then you're in a situation where QDK is doubting himself because he's not played for so long. And you have Kyle Mayers who you think is not going to do it. So somewhere, I think in a lot of international teams, for example, Australia is a great example. Brad Hodge would come in if Marquardt was injured. Brad Hodge gets a double century. Next match, Marquardt comes straight back in.
Right.
So you can take that policy also. QDK is our designated starter. It doesn't matter how well you've played. When he comes back, he comes straight in. Maybe you give Kyle Mayers one more match because, you want QDK to rest. But when QDK is rested and fit and he's had a couple of net sessions, he goes straight in. So it's philosophically, what's wrong with me? It's philosophically a very different strategy to use. And I think that's what I'm interested in knowing, that what are they thinking and what happens if Kyle Mayers doesn't come good in the next 2-3 matches?
Yeah, that's a very interesting question. And I'm pretty sure if Lucknow have to continue the good form, at least, reach the playoffs, perhaps win the title as well, KL Rahul eventually at some stage will have to come good. Like, what would you ask him to change if you had a chance to have this conversation
I don't think
with
he
him?
needs to change much. I mean, if you look around him, he's got strikers. He's got people who can score in excessive strike rate. Sometimes you actually just need people who create a little bit more consistency. And I wouldn't be concerned about his performance at all. I mean, he's one of those guys who'll kick on. And I think he keeps churning out the runs. I mean, he normally gets 600 runs, doesn't he? In the tournament, I think it's been like one season.
When he has 590, it's a bad season.
Yeah, exactly. So he'll be fine. I mean, we're probably overthinking his thing with regards to strike rate. I'm sure that he'll be okay. They won their last game. I mean, they managed to chase down that big score. He had Puran, he had Stoinis flying around him. He's got Mayers at the top. Just let him bat.
But also, I mean, both Polly and me have been part of dugouts and teams, and the one thing I'd be thinking is right now the analysts in the Lucknow side, they're going and saying, wait a minute, Atharva Taide, what exactly does he do? Harpreet, what is he doing? Come on, get some tape of him. We need to see this quick, because the bowlers will need to be briefed when they come in, because this is what happens. When you have a player straight out of left field you don't expect to play, suddenly you have to prepare for that guy. They'll all be looking at it. And similarly, Yudhvir Singh, what kind of bowling does he do? Okay, he bowls for Jammu and Kashmir. So, lot of these players are not scouted that much as the top players are.
And they do go into panic mode because these days they're so used to having footage. It's like in our day we didn't have. So you'd rock up and you'd ask the other guys, what does this guy do? Now it's like we need to see. I'm trying to think who the...
I'm pretty sure Bangalore must have felt similarly when Surya Sharma was playing that game for Kolkata. Unknown commodity, mystery spinner.
No, worst part is Surya Sharma has played nothing but under 25 cricket. He's not played first class or list A cricket. So where would they find video of him?
Exactly.
Yeah. There was hardly any information available online for us as well, to have a discussion about him or an in-depth discussion about him.
So poor guys. I don't envy them their jobs
remember
right
in
now.
the first season we played, in 2008, we played RCB. I think it was our last game. And they had a short little chap who ended up coming and opening the batting. And these guys...
I know. Srivats Goswami.
Yeah, it's him. And he came out and I was like, well, what does this guy do? Like, what length am I going to get? And he whacked it. He was like, poof, poof.
He got a few
he got a few runs. It's like...
He became, just on the matter of that innings, he was the emerging player of won the Emerging Player of the Year award over Virat Kohli. And that was Srivats Goswami. And because he was very short, he tends to go high.
So, I mean, I remember that occasion thinking, gosh, I don't know anything about this guy. And you ask around, like, what? No,
what length?
He gives it a whack. Well, where? Where does he whack it? Like, short length, full length? So.
But someone who's certainly not an unknown commodity, not least because of his 18.5 crore price tag, is Sam Curran, who will be captaining Punjab in this match. You talked about this, but would love for you to expand on it. Massive pressure on him. He typically remains, very cool, calm, composed, phlegmatic. But we haven't seen him firing on all cylinders so far this season. And if you take a look at his strike rate, his average, definitely not something that's worthy of the 18.5 crore price tag.
Yeah, no, I mean, he's better than that. He's better than those facts and figures are given to you. But maybe this gets him involved. Maybe this gets him more part of it. He can't stand back. He can't just go and spend time on the boundary. He's got to be in the mix trying to make things happen. And sometimes as players, because it's only for one or maybe two games, depending on the injury or sickness or whatever it may be, I think it might bring the best out, but it just does seem like a lot on his shoulders all of a sudden from having to carry that price tag as well.
I'll be very interested in seeing where he bowls himself.
Yeah. It always gives you a good idea of what they think.
I'll be very interested in seeing where he bowls himself. Because, I mean, he's got Rabada, but, I mean, does he hold himself back for the death? Is he better off, bowling a couple up front? So those are all questions that will come up, and it'll be interesting. Because, see, this pitch, again, if it is half the pitch, knowing Gautam, they'll try and make a spin-friendly wicket. That's because that's what really works for them. That's their strength. And they have a lot of players who whack spin well. From Kunal Pandya, Deepak Hooda, to the international players. All of them play spin very well.
Yeah.
So,
is it the red soil or the dark soil?
So that's the point. They played once on the...
It's the red soil. And it's
red
a new strip that they're playing on.
It's in the red soil.
It's a new strip.
So that turns, right? The red soil turns.
No, the red is a bit of a spongier...
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Whenever we've played in India, the red
black
soil
soil turns. I think the first match that was played at the Ekana Stadium was on black soil. That's when Mark Wood picked up that fifer. And the second one, where the spinners came to the party, was the game that...
That's what he's saying.
Black soil. Yeah.
No, he's on black soil. He says spinners came on the black soil. That's when... Normally, red soil is Wankede.
Yeah, but that's ones that...
It gives you a nice bounce.
Yeah.
It'll bounce a bit, but the last pitch was like the ball would stick on the ground and like literally come up like that. It was as if there was glue on the pitch for the spinners.
Okay.
But if the track is spin friendly, I think something that's going to be a cause for concern for Punjab will be the fact that the spinners haven't quite come to the party so far this season. Rahul Chahar, he's looked like a shadow of himself. And so that's definitely going to be a concern for Punjab, because if we look at spinners in this tournament, out of all teams, Punjab second from last, having picked up only 4 wickets from spin so far this season, Paulie.
And they're probably the last now, because I don't know if that's updated. I mean, Delhi got 3 or 4 wickets today.
Yeah, Delhi got a lot of wickets in spin.
So they go above. Yeah, that is disappointing. And I mean, at some stage, particularly in the RPL, Indian surfaces, Indian pitches, your spinners have to stand up in the tournament. So Chahar's kind of struggled since he left Mumbai. He was pretty good at Mumbai and that surrounding, and with those other bowlers in the attack.
Yeah, the big price, everything. See, all these play a factor, and you don't ask it on yourself. You don't decide how much money you're paid. It's like, we were talking about 18.5 for Sam Curran. Yeah. It's not as if Sam Curran negotiated and said, I want 18.5.
I'm only coming if
It doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
Then somebody's paid 18.5, it's not his fault.
Yeah.
But the burden still stays in your head, and I think Rahul is struggling, because it's a very interesting history. Rahul Chahar comes, and he comes to Mumbai, and he takes over Mayank Markande's job. If you remember, Mayank Markande was good enough to play for India. Rahul Chahar comes out, Mayank Markande goes to Rajasthan and sort of, tries to find his place out there. Rahul Chahar becomes the main bowler. Then the next big auction happens. Chahar goes to Punjab, and now Mayank Markande has found his way back to Sunrisers Hyderabad in the first 11. Just had his first match and did well, So the whole circle of it, now Markande is on the up and Chahar is struggling to find rhythm.
Yeah.
And their other spinner, Harpreet Singh Bhatia, just at this point in time, their left arm spinner is just not doing enough for them. So I think they need somebody to come good. Also, remember Liam Livingstone, if he was playing, would be giving them a couple of overs of spin as well. And Liam is one of those irritating bowlers who look very innocuous but keep taking wickets. I don't know how they do it, but you see him and you have a gleam in your eye and you want to whack him.
Yeah.
And somehow the ball doesn't reach every time.
Yeah. It's funny you talked about the fact that it's not Sam Curran's fault that he got sold for 18.5 crores. I remember there was this time when Pat Cummins got sold for about 16 crores to Kolkata a couple of seasons back. And right after he got sold, Pat Cummins mentions that, just because I've been sold for 16.5 crores doesn't mean the ball will start swinging a lot more because of my price tag. We'll come to predictions. Joy, your first innings prediction.
I don't know which pitch will turn up. So, either I'm going to go right, or I could be wrong by 50 odd this thing. Okay, I'll
give you a hint. I'm not sure if this is a factor that you want to incorporate into your calculation, but they've started the bowling with Matthew Short. So spin up top.
Okay, 155.
155.
167.
155, 167. I'll go slightly higher, 177. We'll find out who ends up coming on top when we come back with a mid-inning show. But of course, between the end of this show and the mid-inning show, we also have the Cricbuzz Combox at the end of the 10-over mark. And that's when we'll see you next. Cheers.
Jaipur via Kota.
कृपया ध्यान आपको अहमदाबाद
दिल्ली में आपका स्वागत
Lucknow Junction. ನಿಲ್ದಾಣದ ಕಡೆಗೆ ಹೊರಟಿರುವ ರೈಲಲ್ಲಿ
Hyderabad को 50 एक्सप्रेस कोलुबुसी स्टेशन नेताजी भवन कृपया ध्यान दें